Hello and welcome to Mostly Minnesota Music Podcast Edition. I'm Ann Tracy. I'm here with my co-host,
Heather Baker.
Yes, I'm excited. Today we have ELSKA or Elsa Lee here to join us.
Hi, it's good to be with you.
Yes. I'm excited. I'm just gonna think myself out. Elsa was just 20 minutes ago. You had a song that was performed on a show for Dissonance, I believe.
Yeah.
On the Shoulders of Giants. And as I'm watching it, and this song, so if I look a little red-eyed and a little teary, it's because that song On the Shoulder of Giants brings me to tears every time.
Well, thank you. I really, that song just holds such a special place in my heart, especially how it was written. It was part of that big compilation that we did in the fall, that #MeTooMinneapolis album, with such incredible people. And so that song just means so much to me. So I'm glad that it translated. I'm glad that you enjoy it.
I'm a sucker for it every single time. Yes. And so we won't talk too much about it because we did have the good fortune of talking to you. And I'm trying to think of Annie Fitzgerald, Mary Bew, and
Linnea.
Yep. That we spoke to several of the artists on different nights. So that was the group that we had that night. So if folks haven't heard the Me Too Minneapolis album, that On the Shoulders of Giants it's a great song. It's a tearjerker.
Thank you.
Yeah,
it was a tearjerker to write for sure. That was a tough one. And it was a couple of days of writing, and it was digging into some tough stuff. So I'm glad that comes through. And yeah, that whole album though, it's just, oh my gosh, fun one to be a part of.
It is. It's very, it's cathartic. It's uplifting. Which segues beautifully into your new album. You have a new album coming out on March 26th, national release. Yeah.
Yep.
And it is called The Shoulder of Giants, On the Shoulder of Giants.
Yeah, that was the last of the songs on the album that was written, and it kind of hit so hard that it just made sense that this was what we were going to call this thing. And I say we because all of the songs were written with my music partner Owen Sartori, and a lot of our sessions were him trying to decipher what was up in my head, and none of the songs would exist in their current form without him. So when I say we, he is who I'm referring to. Nice.
Well, it's nice to have somebody to help draw you out like that.
It really is. And the songs on the album kind of range from social justice to environmental justice to breakup songs to mental health songs. And so we kind of jumped all over the place. And he kind of helped weave a thread through all of the stuff that was going on in my head. So very grateful for a perspective outside the inside of my head to help make some of this make sense. So
nice.
Can I back up and ask your history before? Like, have you written before or played music, whatever?
Yeah, music has always been a part of my story. When I was little, I started playing the piano just about as soon as I could, and was an obnoxious child who asked her mother if she could sing the grocery list in the store. So I was just like, I had music kind of in me and needing to get out. And so I took piano all the way through college actually, and had taken voice lessons and done the whole thing, and always wanted to write and took a stab at it a couple of times, but just ended up defaulting to covers that really resonated with me. There's so many brilliant songwriters that came before, and so I'm like, I'll just be a conduit to keep their music going. And when I met Owen is when all this stuff really started to pick up, because I realized I have a lot of opinions of my own, and I wanted to get some of that out there. So very grateful to be where we are now.
Nice.
I love that you sing the grocery list too. And it's funny when you were listing all the topics on there, because when I was listening to it and then looking at your pictures, your photos are incredible, but I was like, modern tree hugger girl, like I was just like, it's fascinating. So you have like the whole album and everything in it is so beautiful.
Oh, thank you. And I have a whole team that's kind of been with me for years, helping me kind of get some traction. My friend Kelsey Duncan is the photographer and has done all the graphics and has helped kind of put the music and lyrical content into visuals. And so I just feel really fortunate now that all of the production and stuff is done and I'm getting into the, hey, let's talk about it phase. It's just really fun to sit and think about and appreciate all the people who have helped make this come to life.
Nice. And something that came to life recently is the video for Stand Together.
Yes. Yeah, that came out. Well, we had written that one back in probably late 2018. So that one's been around for a while.
Yeah.
And it was all thinking about the forces that, you know, are trying very hard to divide us and pin people against each other. And it's their fault and trying, you know, just the whole mess that we found ourselves in. And so that song was written as a reminder to all of us, you know, we are stronger when we stand together, and there's more of us. Literally one of the lines is there's more of us than we know, and we're stronger when we're bound together. And so knowing that this release was coming up, we were like, well, this seems like it, no matter where the election falls, this is going to be something that will be timed well around the inauguration. So we ended up releasing it the Friday before the inauguration, and we had no idea that it was going to age the way that it did, especially given the insurrection that happened in our capital. And so it just ended up being more timely than we anticipated. But yeah, so that's the most recent, and that'll be on the album. So that's the very first one out in the world now.
Which I like it because it's very much a call to action, but it's very positive. It's very positive as a time city that could have aged so many different ways. I think about now what, you knowing what you knew and what you didn't know, what you know.
Yeah, and I appreciate hearing that because I wanted to keep it positive, but I wanted to keep it real. Like we need to be uplifted and we need to keep remembering why we're fighting the fight without, I just didn't want to bring anybody down with it. So I appreciate hearing that very much.
It kind of, it has like a fiery but soft side at the same time. So I do think you hit the mark that you wanted to, but that's so crazy that you wrote it in 2018. And to have all the stuff that has happened, with George Floyd and on the 6th of January, like, is it making you go like, oh, now I have all these other?
Well, I think what it makes me, like now that I'm sitting and thinking about it, I mean, 4 years ago, I mean, even longer than that, but let's start at 4 years ago. Many of us knew where it was headed. We knew that we were going to end up here, that, hopefully there wouldn't be, but that there would likely be bloodshed, that this was not going to be a good thing for our country, for our communities, for the world around us. And so I think having written it as long ago as we did, I think collectively, we just knew that this is kind of where things were going. And unfortunately, we saw that all to fruition, but hopefully now it's a new day in America. We can move forward. And I wanted it to be a call to action, and standing together implies unity. And now that I'm seeing a lot of the rhetoric that's happening on social media, I just want to be clear that it's not unity in the sense that, the past is the past and let's just come together and move forward. The standing together is standing together and holding the people accountable for getting us here, holding the people accountable who are trying to tear us apart. It's not us washing things away. We're going to learn from our mistakes and learn the lessons that you taught us over the last 4 years, and we're going to be clear to not make those again.
I think the song and the video both relay that message beautifully.
Thank you. Good. That's good to hear.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. And Heather has been involved with the Women's March as well, but I do a lot of their social media and have for a number of years now. I was like, wish I'd had this video in 2018, actually, during the midterm elections. We would have, but it's kind of you try to hit that balance of, you want to be positive, but you want to be inspiring, and you know, and I think you just nailed it perfectly.
Thank you. Thank you. And it is a balance, because I think we all get so fatigued with the negativity that we see, and also get frustrated with the idealism that some people, you know, like the super hopeful stuff that we're like, okay, but that's not our reality. So it is a little bit of a balance, a little bit of a line to walk. So I do appreciate you.
Well, and I think you kind of hit on this too, especially with social media. And I can tell my friends who are like, can we all just post pictures of little kittens? Or, and I'm like, oh, I know what side you're standing on.
It is kind of interesting to be able to tell pretty quickly. And I think one thing that I've been catching myself in, especially in light of the racial reckoning that we went through this summer, but throughout the recent past, is it really is a place of privilege to just be able to say, no, I don't want to talk about it today. And there is a place, we all need to rest. We all need to be able to disengage, to be our best selves, to keep fighting, but to just shut it off and say, no, I don't want to, it's not worth it right
Solved.
now. That we don't have time for that. There's too much to do.
Well, it's funny because I was re-listening to the conversation that we had last summer with the Me Too. And one thing that I remember you saying is that we have to really battle the fatigue. And at the time we were talking about the Me Too, but of course the timing of the Me Too Minneapolis also coincided with a lot of the civil unrest. And I think this was, you couldn't have planned a better recharger.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's important that we find our things that keep us going, because we gotta keep going.
We do. Now you were just saying before we went on air that you're going to come up with a couple of singles from the album leading up to the release in March. What are you going to release?
So a lot of the album is the mental health, social justice stuff, but there's also some of my own personal experience stuff. And right before Valentine's Day, the Friday before Valentine's Day, we're going to actually do a double release. There's kind of a fun, flirty, happy song, like the one song that exists on the album that's just fun for fun's sake. It's called Hummingbird. That one's
like Hummingbird. Could that be the one?
Hummingbird, yes. And then the other side, the bummer side of Valentine's Day, the breakup side, is a breakup song. Also, I think also from 2018. This record has been in the making for a while, but that one's called Still Standing Still. So those come out on February 12th, and then the song that was on the Me Too record, we're gonna re-release for this new record on March 5th. So a couple more songs, and then the album will come out at the end of March.
Nice. I like the Hummingbird song, and I was like, oh, upbeat, so positive.
That one.
Am I not getting it?
No, luckily there's one just standalone, happy, fun song that's not going to make people contemplate global warming or anything like that. It's fun.
But even when you do have people contemplate global warming, I think you do it in such a nice, in a nice way. Yeah, I always take really quick notes for myself, you know, which I may or may not other people to see, you know, it's my spelling alone would be it. But I'm like, it's kind of pop, folk, techno. I mean, it's, you know, there's a little bit of the ambience underneath what you do. I mean, it's the music inherently is very uplifting much of the time.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it is. We kind of had a hard time pinning it in. We think it lives in the pop world, kind of an alternative pop. But yeah, it is there. It kind of is a little bit all over the map, which was really fun to create. So I'll just say that.
Well, there are hints of some of the folk music, certainly in the themes, but even, I mean, your voice is so pure that it kind of brings back to some of the folk music. And I can listen to a lot of ambient, a lot of tech, a lot of noise, but I love that undercurrent of some of the techno and some of the, it modernizes it so much.
Yeah, and I will agree with you. When I listen back on the record, there is something I think about the vocals that feel a little bit like an old folk style. I think I know what you mean. So it is important to have something that's like, okay, we're going to ground this in the 21st century. you know, and that's there with a lot of like the synths and there's some programmed electronic drums, which is fun, but it's all kind of centered around my vocals and piano keys. That's my instrument, so that's where a lot of it is, the root of it is. But yeah, we kind of branched off in a couple of different directions, which was fun.
It is. Did you make most of the album in the last year? Have you had to?
Yeah, actually, so that's a very good question. I think, yeah, it probably actually was just about a year ago that we started producing what was actually on the record. We had demos that existed before, but I think the production probably would have started about a year ago. So, and the last one being the On the Shoulders of Giants, which was, yeah, right about this time. So, yeah, it's amazing what's happened in the last year. And I feel like everything is so warped with the pandemic time. I can't believe we're coming up on a year of having existed in this, because in some ways it feels like we've been here forever. In some ways it's like, that's just a few months ago and it's already been a year. Can't wrap my head quite around it.
Well, and it's because it's changed so much of how we think.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm trying to think about, I had notes about well, this was, actually was notes on the notes of the album, is that it was a line about how the album was really about being in an apartment, sitting through a lifetime of good and bad decisions.
Yeah, I think I can characterize them as good and bad decisions, but I think you know, from everything, it was a lot of lesson learning. I learned a lot about myself, what I wanted, what I did not want for my life, for my personal relationships, friendships, career path, all those kinds of things. So I'm kind of, now that I think about it, I'm hesitant to call them bad decisions.
Oh yeah, no.
But and that's what I've written about. I mean, because it is reflective of good and bad decisions. But yeah, it's a lot of learning. Yeah.
Well, you know what's funny? I think there are good and bad decisions, but I think more importantly, there's good or no learning.
Yeah, actually, that's a very good way to put it. Yeah, and I don't subscribe to the belief that everything happens for a reason, but I do think that there is something to be learned. There's some area of growth. There's some way to come out of these things, a better, more full, complete version of who we want to become. Yeah, I think, yeah, I love that. That's a great way to put that.
I've made a lot of bad decisions.
And we need you to write some songs now, Anne.
Yeah, exactly. I don't want to change. I'm just I like to think I'm just a lot older, but I've made a lot of bad decisions. Some I learned from and some not so much.
Well,
yeah, well, and what's nice is you also have good and bad decisions. They're not, as you said, it's a very personal album at times. Mm-hmm. I think, you know, that Caroline is a song that is a very personal song. You know, it's a beautiful song.
Thank you. Actually, speaking of the Women's March, that song was inspired by, there was a photo of an older woman who had a sign that said, "I can't believe we still have to protest this." And it just stuck with me for years. And I just wondered what her life must have been like. And that we created a story about what she must have been through and protesting through generations. And that song is one of my favorites too. It took me a while to practice it and not cry, because it's so, like, these women have been fighting forever and falling in love doing it. And oh my gosh. I'm glad that you like it.
You know, I could just about, because there's a whole line about we weren't really human. I mean, and it's just, you can take that in so many contexts. That's true historically for women. Yeah. And for many people. I mean,
right.
Unfortunately, women don't have not cornered the market. I mean, I think as we've seen in the last year.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. That line, every time I sing it, it's tough to even get it out of my person. But it does, I mean, how long have we been working on the Equal Rights Amendment, you know, and why is it so hard to get something passed where women are paid the same as men? And I have a tangent I can see myself going down. I'm gonna check myself right now, but it's just, it gets, and I'm in my late 20s. I haven't even been fighting this long. I can't imagine how long and how tiresome it is to have an entire life spent. But back to On the Shoulders of Giants, we're just gonna keep climbing. We're gonna keep moving forward. Anyway, I'm getting all hyped up over here.
Well, no, I mean, I can be there right there with you. There's a local woman, Betty Folliard. She's got a few years on me. She's been carrying the flag for the ERA, God love her, with many others.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just,
yeah.
you know, and I think this my favorite sign, and I'm trying to think I think it was the ERA, and there's a woman who comes to it all the time, and somebody brings her in a wheelchair, and her sign reads, I'm 103 and a half years old, or she updates it, or it'll say like 103 and 3/4 years old.
Yeah.
Why am I still here? You know,
yeah,
it's time.
Yeah, I know. I just, oh my gosh. But then I also think, you know, we came up on 100 years of women, white women, being able to vote back in 1920, and progress has been made since. But can you imagine in a lifetime watching that progress be made? That's, I mean, we should have gotten further, but at least that's an incredible span.
Well, that's where I think that recognition of On the Shoulders of Giants helps a lot.
Yeah. I mean, when writing that song, I just kept thinking about my own mother, and how she raised us and how her mother raised her. And just like with every generation, there's work that has been accomplished, and we're training the next women how to literally carry the baton, the next lap around the track, and you just keep moving forward.
Yeah. And thank goodness for it. Thank goodness for it.
Oh
but you don't just hit on women's issues, the last tree on earth.
Yes. Yeah, so that I had taken a trip with some girlfriends out to California, and we went to see the redwoods, and I was just blown away by their majesty. And I had seen them once before, but I don't know that I was old enough or, you know, just cognizant enough to really appreciate what they were. And I learned how incredibly sensitive they are to climate change and to the world around them. And I just found myself weeping walking through this forest, imagining that they were all gone because of how we are treating the world around us. And so I came back. So Owen, my writing partner, I work for him and his partner Davide at a recording studio. So I came back to work and I was like, can you please help me write a song about trees and global warming? And that was like the catalyst that got us moving towards the last tree on earth, which is like this kind of dystopian, we have one tree left, what are we gonna do about it? Because if this thing goes, then we all go. So yeah.
I was going to say, I can see when we talked to you for the Me Too, and I think she was the only one that said you were asked, like they heard a song and you were asked. Of all the topics that you're talking now, I can see why they're like, we need her with us.
Actually, I think I was one of actually, I don't remember how this went on, but so our studio was asked to help facilitate the album and to record things. And then knowing, you know, what we were working on, we're like, hey, this would be really fun to be a part of if you need more people on it. So that's kind of how that all came to life. But my heart has always kind of been in this. It's not about us at an individual level. It's about us as a collective. It's about the world that we're living in. It's about your neighbor. It's about all these things. That's how my parents raised me, so I blame them.
For this being your first album, I mean, how can you wrap your head around being part of that collab and that, you know, like, I'm floored. Just
It has been a trip. 2020 was a crazy year for many reasons, but the trajectory now that my music and hopefully, careers will turn into, it's just clearly I'm stumbling over my words. I haven't wrapped my head around it, is the short answer. It all feels very surreal, and it feels like such a gift because there's so much work that goes into creating an album. I mean, people can have things that they want to say and be able to put it into a song, but the production and the graphics and the web presence and all of the stuff that make it accessible for people to even hear, it just takes a lot of work. And I'm with every passing day more and more grateful for the team that's helped me make it happen. And being a part of that Me Too record connected me with brilliant musicians in this town, and I'm so grateful to now have them as friends and to be able to support them. And I'm already feeling the support by them. The show that was on earlier tonight was Katie Vernon reached out to me, and because she's a part of this thing and she liked what she heard on the record. And so it just feels like such a gift to be able to be a part of this community, and a gift to have the people around me who are making this thing happen.
Amazing. Yeah, because you also will say we're part of part of the national release for the Me Too Minneapolis, and I was never shy about saying we should have a Me Too Minneapolis, a Me Too Houston, a Me Too New York, a Me Too Chicago, because it's to be able to lift everybody else. I mean,
Yep.
That would be.
Yeah, I was thinking about that not too long ago, about how the way that the Me Too Minneapolis was kind of laid out, like it just begs for other cities to say, oh, we've got stories and strong people. We have stories and strong people, just coast to coast, have a whole, I think that would be incredible.
Yeah.
I think that would be incredible. And then,
and I'd love to see it big cities and little,
yeah. Yeah.
Take it to a Duluth, take it to a Bemidji.
Yes. Yeah. Because the creativity is there and the stories are there. I mean, people, and the power is there. I mean, that would be incredible. Oh my gosh. That would be amazing.
Fingers crossed. But then the national release for that album came out was just a month ago, 6 weeks ago, something like that. But you just recently played for the national release for that online with the Americana Highways.
Yes. Yeah. That was, it's fun to see how many people all over the place are resonating with it. And it is something that everybody, men and women, gender non-binary, everybody has a way to connect to what's been lifted up in this album all over the place.
It's good. Good. I think, did you play Endless Winter that night during the American Highways?
I did. Yep.
I love that one.
I love that song. Tell us, for the people who can hear it eventually, about Endless Winter. I mean, it's just
Endless Winter. There's a couple of songs that talk about mental health on this record, and this might be my favorite one. I just kept catching myself in this feeling of, you think that you've gotten yourself pulled out of whatever anxious season, depressed season, whatever, like how it always kind of ebbs and flows. You're stuck in the muck of it, and you think you're kind of prying your way free of it, and then there's something that triggers you back right into that moment. And so I found myself in a particularly difficult season there were things that just would keep pulling me back into this winter, and it's just like, can it be done? Can we please, Endless Winter, be gone, move out of here, give me sunshine, give me summer. And so it's just like, I think there is a little bit of hope in the song, but it's mostly just kind of giving voice to this is heavy and it's cold and it's dark and it hurts. And so I just kind of wanted to live in that place a little bit, but it ended up becoming one of my most favorite songs on the album. I just really love it. Cause I think every time I hear it, I'm revalidating my own feelings about things, and the song feels cathartic, and I'm just giving it, my best and releasing a whole bunch of stuff that's been stuck inside. And so yeah, that's one of my favorites. And I feel like we're literally in Minnesota in January, living in one of our endless winters right now. But
yeah, and pandemic layered onto that.
It is a tough season right now. I actually had a conversation with my sister not too long ago about how I really feel like the weight of a lot of this stuff is starting to catch up and just settle down. Even though we couldn't do holidays the way that we traditionally can, there was still that kind of distraction happening. And now that, things are starting to settle down, it's like, oh, we're stuck here for a little while yet. And it is tough. It is tough. So those songs are kind of nice to just get it out for a little bit.
Or feel connected, that you are not the only one sitting in that space.
Yeah, and I think that's the trick, especially through this season, is how do we still find each other? How do we communicate with each other and stay together and just see each other through this? Because it's a tough time.
Well, and I think with the pandemic, there have been, as you said, we had the distraction of the holidays, whether we did it differently or didn't, I guess we all did it differently, but it's, there was still some sort of distraction with it. And yeah, it's there, it's almost like a grieving, you go through and you've got the funeral, and you've got this, and all this to keep yourself busy. And then all of a sudden it's January.
Yeah. And as we know, our winters can, take us through April. And it's not all bad. Like, I know that we've got our vaccine. We know that spring never fails to disappoint us. It will come. There are things that we can look forward towards. And I think that that's important, to keep our eyes on the horizon and keep our heads up as much as we can. But sometimes the weight of it is just too heavy, and we just have to let it be heavy for a little bit. And that's kind of what that song is.
Well, it's nice to think about it in comparison to the pandemic, because if you're a Minnesotan, if you're living in Minnesota now, we do come through it. Every year we do come through it. There's a couple of weeks where we think it's never going to be warmer. That's it. We're going to be here forever. And then it might be June 3rd, but eventually the snow's gone.
Right.
And it's usually not, not that I don't remember snow in June 3rd, but we usually get a couple of awesome days in April, a couple of, and it hasn't been the worst, but none of us have lived through a pandemic before. So just to kind of get that fortitude that we've had for winters.
Yeah.
And to transfer it, because we're so close. My parents are going to get their shots tomorrow.
Good. Oh, that's good news.
I know, I'm so excited because then I can be sloppy as heck. Well, that's not quite true, but it's, we are so close. We're so close. Yeah. And sometimes that's when it just feels like, but I think we were, and even with the election, and I'll just selfishly say, thank goodness it went my way. Can you imagine what we'd be like?
Oh my gosh, no.
If not, but then you feel like, okay, well, Biden, you've been in office for days. Come on. I thought it would be an immediate, just that little kid in you.
Yeah.
Now I'm 6. I should know everything.
Oh, but it feels so much better already. Come on.
Well, that's it. Well, that's what I'm saying, is that fortitude to kind of get through and realize, okay.
Yeah. There's so much good that's happening. And I think while it's also highlighting challenges that exist, I think it's also bringing out the best in us in other ways. We're getting creative on how to stay connected and how to make music. And so I think we're using our technology in a good way a lot of the time. And You know, there are friends that I have around the country who I generally wouldn't talk to and wouldn't miss that much. And now it's like, okay, I'm free, they're free. Why don't we catch up on Zoom? And so there are good things to be found. But it also, and another thing, it's not a good thing, but it's a necessary thing, that it's starting to highlight some of the cracks that we've always known have existed, and some of like the parts of our society that have been completely overlooked. And now it's like, okay, are we going to start talking about this? So I can appreciate that these things are happening, and at the same time hold the weight of it all. But yes, there is hope, there is light, there's goodness, kindness all around us.
And new music.
Yes, that too.
What are you doing? What is your March 26th looking like, or what is your release date?
That's a good question. So we, one of the things that we've been working on is doing lyric videos, kind of like stand together. They'll end up looking a little bit different. That was one artist, kind of with the inauguration and the political climate in mind, we went that route. But we've done lyric videos for each one of the videos. And so the thought is to do some kind of video where we can have the record playing for people to hear, because we can't really do any kind of live show. And I so appreciate the live streaming and in real time making music. And I've done a couple of those and they've gone pretty well. But with this, I'm so happy with how the record actually sounds, and I want people to hear the work that went into what's on the record. And so we're gonna go in that direction and do some kind of like, and I should stop saying I think, because we have this nailed down. It'll be Thursday the 25th, so the day before the record is released. We'll do something on YouTube and Facebook, some kind of live or premiered in real time, pre-produced, but we'll all be viewing it together. So what that exactly looks like, we are still enjoying figuring that out. And we'll probably enjoy figuring that out for a little while yet. But it'll happen, and I'm excited about it.
I was going to say, you seem pretty excited to be in that creative part 2 of the videos and the lyrics and the photos, and it's probably kind of nice to help support that creative artistry too during this time.
For sure. And I think one of the things that I've been grieving throughout the whole pandemic, but especially now, is the loss of being on stage and creating with people in the same room, you know, engaging in that way. And so that creative side has been lost for a little bit, especially with the emails and, you know, all that stuff, like the busy work that none of us creative people really, I mean, I don't know anybody who really enjoys tracking down their inbox, but that kind of work is just kind of like, oh, where's the music? Where's the art in it? And so to be able to focus on this new medium that was never my focus. I could appreciate it, but was never my jam. It's a fun way to get the brain firing again. So I just really appreciate all those art forms that bring the music part of it to life. So it's been a fun endeavor.
It's fun to watch the videos. I mean, as you said, the live streams are fun, and they're bittersweet.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they're just very bittersweet. You're so thankful to have the music. You're so thankful to have the live music, but you miss the camaraderie of being in the. But a video is very different. I mean, it's you know, if I can't have an apple and orange, I'll take a banana. I mean, you know.
Exactly. Yeah. And so I think this will just be a fun way to try and give life to the album. And and it's different for people to be able to see the lyrics coming out. And there was actually a lyric that my mom was like, oh, I always thought you said something else. It's nice to see what you actually said. So a helpful tool as well.
It is always a helpful tool. It is always a yes.
Always.
well, and it's funny because all the Netflix and all that stuff that I watch with the subtitles. I think my YouTube is stuck on subtitles and I can look up or not look up depending on how and it's usually how I take in information work wise and otherwise, yeah, because I'm getting paid to watch Netflix. But through both, and I think it does come into our brain in a different way.
Yeah, I think so too. Like we're taking it in two ways. So yeah, I think it'll be good. And I appreciate all the work that's gone into that visual component too. So should be fun.
I don't know if you said it before, so sorry if I'm repeating, but did you kind of have a vision of how you wanted the videos to go, or did you give them creative? Okay.
Some of them, well, actually, no, all of them, but some of them have a little bit more creative control. And actually, he's not only a songwriter, he's a very good video producer. Owen actually has taken on some of these videos himself, and I'm very impressed. I'm like, I don't want him to leave the music industry because he's quite good there, but should anything go wrong, he's got a backup industry. We kind of like people have their strengths, and so we found some people who we liked their style and what they did. Hummingbird, this video and song that's going to be released in February, was an artist who we just kind of liked the vibe, and none of them really take away from the song, and we didn't want like full-on music videos where people are more focused on watching the movie than listening to the music. The visuals for Stand Together, I was super excited about how they came together, and none of the other videos kind of have that feel. That one's a little bit, I use the word whimsical. I don't feel like that's the right word, but there's like a lot of color and a lot of movement and, a lot of stuff happening.
It makes me think of color forms, and it makes me think of I was born in a sweet spot where I used to watch the Electric Company as a kid. There's something very and I don't mean it's juvenile or anything like that, because
I know what you mean because, and that was a conversation that was had too. It was like, this feels like it could be a kid's thing, but it's not a kid's thing. And so it just ended up being like the cartoony kind of aspect of it took over a little bit more than we were anticipating. But I mean, it ended up, I think, serving the song for the purpose that we released it. It ended up coming together well. For the rest of the stuff, it's all going to be a little bit more focused on, it's a little bit more real, I guess, grounded maybe. So we'll see how
that feels like a mystery. Now I'm looking forward to that one.
I don't gotta keep you on your toes.
Yeah, awesome, because I really did enjoy as I said, I can become my snotty 7-year-old self so fast. It was like Electric Company and not like Mr. Rogers. People would kill me for saying, but as a kid, I never liked Mr. Rogers because I'm the oldest in my family, and the little ones, mind you, who are 1 and 2 years younger than I am.
Okay. Yeah. So
Katie likes that.
Generations apart.
I'm cool, Electric Company, but there is something cool about it. I mean, it's.
Yeah. No, I appreciate that. And so yeah, the rest of the videos will not be as Electric Company as that one, but glad that it brought you back to those good days with the cartoons.
My cool cartoons. Yes. Yeah. Exactly. No, it's perfect for the. As I said, I would have, if it had been out 2 years ago, I would have used the heck out of that for that midterm election and getting them out the vote. I mean, it is just really very inspiring, and
Thank you. And I think about where we've been since I've been old enough to really pay attention to things, and it seems like that song could have been relevant at any time in the past however long. And so I have a feeling that we're going to have to keep having the reminder to stand together, to remember each other, and to keep persisting and fighting and moving forward. So hopefully hopefully we'll be able to make progress, but hopefully this song can buoy us to keep moving things forward. So we'll see what the next few years have to hold.
Well, and it's a time like, like the 60s, there's a whole generation of revolution music came out of the 60s, and a whole lot of, it's funny. I think the Stand Together comes to my head all the time. And then Cornbread Harris, Let the World Come Together. The two songs are the ones that kind of come to me when I'm in that kind of, when I'm out of the endless winter.
Yes. That's so, oh my gosh, that is high compliment to be held.
Yeah. So that's,
appreciate that very much.
Yeah.
But yeah, we do need to, as soon as we come out of that endless winter and we're recharged and ready to go, there's work to be done. So
that's good. It gives us job security.
I guess.
Purpose security gives us purpose security.
Yeah.
So that's a good thing. And we have good music to listen to. We do it. So that's good. That's good. Well, I'm going to look forward to March 26th, so more people can hear more of the music, because it's really, it is uplifting and inspiring. I mean, kind of gets all the feels, but it is on the whole cathartic.
Thank you. Yeah, it certainly was my own kind of cathartic release, and so I hope that people can feel that for themselves too as they're listening. And thank you so much for taking the time to listen and chat about it. I'm really excited and really grateful, and yeah, all the good feels.
The good fit. That's good. Well, let folks know where they can find you and the album and all of that good stuff online.
Yes. So the website is ELSKA, HIELSKA.com, and then all of my social media is just at ELSKA. So pretty simple, straightforward, but yeah, love to keep chatting about music. And
you're pretty active on social media, so people can find you.
Yes, yeah, I hope people can. I try. Social media is one of the things that I'm the worst at, but I try.
I think you do a nice job. I think it's good. So it's good. Well, thank you so much for joining us and for bringing us new music and everything.
Thank you so much for having me and for taking the time and listening, and all of the work that you do to lift up people making music and sharing their words. I really appreciate you both. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.